Welcome to Curly's Mailbag. I'm your host, Scoot, but the star of the show, Shane Ciurleo. How are you, big fella?
Yeah, going all right, mate. Thank you. Been on a bit of a rock and/or roll, as they say in the classics, haven't we? Finding a few.
Yeah, 21 Savage. How much money you got?
Yeah, we know the answer to that. Not a lot.
It sounds like you got a lot because you've been on fire. Last week's video, you must have had a big bet on, was it night or $2 into $1.33? That's probably all your money and a couple of the guys on the show watching the show. So they would have probably had a nice little double with Angus the Black. I think Angus was evens into about $1.76 on the exchange. SP,
yeah,
right?
SP at about $1.76, I think it was. Yeah, so yeah, that was good. Yeah, I had a few messages, mate, about you must be a genius finding these shorties, but I know a couple of blokes did take the all up, which was handy. And as you know, I'd rather be on a short price winner than a long price loser any day of the week.
It was a pokey little card last week. We backed one of John Holcomb's in, I think race one, didn't we? That was off the maps, about $15 into $7 at one stage, and the market sort of corrected, but they gave it no chance. There was two horses in that race that were pretty average rides, but it was a tricky. Those short little pokey cards can be hard to be profitable because those horses are well found by that stage. Sometimes you need to just pick those prices off early if you can get on.
If you can, and I think I know you're not going to give yourself a plug, mate, but that's you've been on fire down there the last few weeks. It has been tough. It has looked like a favourites card, like you say, basically for the month. And I know that we went hard on one there late last week that got us the money off your selection. And I've seen the email that we sent out from the mailbag there during the week, and I think you led the table this week at like 29% profit on turnover. So you're the one that's flying.
Yeah, I think you're sort of holding your own. Like you're outlaying a lot more units than I am, and so obviously, yeah, higher the units, the better off you are. But I suppose we got you on. What, 4 or 5 days a week? It feels like you're just dropping sets all the time. Queensland are just really nailing the product perspective of it, aren't they? There's so much product to bet on.
Yeah, it's been like last week. It just coincided. There happened to be 3 meetings in a row, and I covered 30 races. And then we wedged 10 in between them that you did there on the Saturday Arvo. So it was a punter loser there for 3 days straight.
Yeah, you don't die wondering. That was a beauty today that I found. And what were you doing? You were playing the recorder or having a bit of a snooze and missed that one, 8 into 680, that one.
Yeah, geez, I was sick on that.
What were you thinking?
I'd had a few projects on around the house because I knew that my next meeting that I was covering was Friday. So I did have a little bit of time off over the last couple of days just to refresh, and my missus had lined up a few jobs for me that took a little bit longer than anticipated. And I've clean missed it.
I can't believe you've had a crack at your own dishwasher, but we'll save the dribble for another time. Let's talk about the Gold Coast, which is producing some amazing racing on these Friday meetings. A big win for them, and the track's sort of playing somewhat predictably. How do you think it'll play on Friday?
Yeah, look, it's not what's I'm trying to say here. It's not easy for people to pick up the form, go and have a bet at the Gold Coast because it never plays any other way. So we've noticed the last 3 weeks they've crept the rail out, and the last few weeks, particularly last week, I felt that it was almost like there's lane 3, 4, 5. The first ones there are advantaged, where they've crept the rail out again. The rail's 8 metres from the 1400 to the winning post and 5 metres remaining this week. So again, the dynamics, totally change. You could back a horse from back in the field, getting in the middle of the track with the rail true. This week, we're looking for a different type of setup to try and find a winner because with that rail where it is, it's first to the lane will win.
We won't talk about the Lapulga race, but if you want some comedy in your life, that's definitely a car crash.
I had a small unit against La Pulga because it was four runs in 4 weeks, and the rider of the horse that ended up running third that was in front at the time looked inside and seen the riderless horse cutting him off, and then he tried to chime in and push the riderless horse back in on top of La Pulga again. But yeah, comedy, all right.
It's crazy. Some of the rides that you see and just things that happen in Queensland racing it'd be, you have to see him to believe him. And speaking of that, let's kick off in race 6. I want to push your buttons a bit. I need a little bit of fun in ice. So, Bold Warrior, didn't he jump out of the ground last start? Hey?
Yeah, goodness me. It was something, that win.
Run us through it. For people that missed it, what was it?
I'm trying to be polite here. It was firstly heavily backed. Let's establish that fact. Heavily backed. It was an honest conveyance. It was an honest conveyance. This win was something else. He was 3 deep outside the 2 leaders the entire. They went out 5.6 lengths quicker than average. And this horse is 3 deep outside the 2 leaders, pouring it on. At the 300 metre mark, it dropped on them, like it rolled to the front like it just dropped on them from nowhere with a sweet run. Not only that, it finished off with the second fastest last 200 of the race. It was something else. Some win. The funny part was I had a look at the stewards report thinking, geez, this is a bit, a little bit too much of an improvement. There'd be questions asked here. The stewards asked questions of Fanks, the rider of Fanks who led in the race, the Fence. It was SP $21, got beat 23.7 lengths. They queried the performance of the horse. Not a question of the winner who sat 3 wide outside that leader and kicked its brains in and everything else. So,
incredible.
Strange times.
It'll be interesting to see what it does. It's got barrier 12 here, and you assume similar tactics. But
I would say, the other horse in the race, whose last start winner at the same day, same meeting, was Pepe Le Few,
which has been absolutely airborne.
It led $1.75 into about $1.50 or something. One of the well backed horses on the day. It led. Went out slower, considerably slower, 7.7 lengths slower than the all-average benchmark. So that means, on the day, it's about Bold Warrior's 13 lengths in front at the 600 and Pepe Le Pew's doing all the chasing. And just on times, comparing them on the day and ratings on the day, Pepe Le Pew can't run down Bold Warrior.
No, it'd be 3 lengths short, looking at punting form data.
3 lengths short. So on data, it looks like a 2-horse race, and I can't wait to see what the betting says. I'm fascinated.
It's going to be amazing, hey?
On Bold Warrior.
What about the other one? Yeah. The other winner that you back, Fish On.
Yeah,
Is it going to stay on, or it's probably is it too big a jumping class here?
Yeah, possibly a too big a jumping class, and just with the rail where it is, and the 2 other horses I anticipate will both be firm in the market, will both be on speed and be advantaged there. So, look, I'm happy to keep counting of what we got out of Fish On last time at $10, and we'll save for him for another day when he comes into something a little bit softer than this.
And there's a couple of runners sort of high in the ratings, like a horse like Pleased first up. Any interest?
Not here. Not first up. I think this will be hot. This will be hot with the speed. Parko's another horse that races on speed. This will be a genuine run race, and there'll be no place for the faint-hearted here. Well, that's Queensland in general. It's no place for the faint-hearted.
It's going to be a fascinating contest. It's amazing. It's either one way or the other. There's absolutely zero intent, or they sit and wait and all go into Indian file, or it's just breakneck speed. It's a very tricky place to do a speed map. If you can get the speed map anywhere near right, you're probably going to make some money. Let's have a look at probably a good segue there. Queensland's home of the 900 metre races. You guys seem to have the 870s, and there's 900 metres races at Ipswich and the Goldie. How do you go about getting into those races? I look at them generally and just wet myself, and not in a good way. I find them really tricky.
Oh, they're torturous. They're torturous.
Can we talk about Mithu?
Oh, well, that's it. Like, what about Blood Blister last Saturday night? It led the fence over 870. The horse outside the leader gives it windburn and takes the front at the 500. then picks up at the 100 and gets beat ahead over 870. Dead set. Look, it's tough. You can only do your best, I suppose, on just identifying the horses that have got the speed, the early speed. And, you can sometimes, it's all about the gates, right? And you just got to find the horse that have got speed that's going to be putting himself there. Not so much speed maps where they land, just purely Queensland style, gates open, yahoo, like Remington Park, 360 metre races.
Yeah.
So that's how you're basically just looking at, those lead times over those short courses and horses with clean jumps, and a big query on blinkers first time horses over those 900, because, it's a well documented fact that horses with blinkers for the first time can be a little bit half slow, and you only need to be half a step tardy or half a step not clean out of the gate over 900. And this race, this 900 metre race at the Gold Coast on Friday is, a good example of that. You've got some clean gate horses that are going to put themselves there, and you've got horses like Spurcraft, who at his best is very slick. It has been tardy away its last few, so not the easiest race to dissect for sure.
Yeah, there's two runners I've got a picture of Usman on up in my toilet door. It's just a horse that I've found the last few starts, and has been just a little a mini ATM machine for me. Sort of this prep or last prep, it's had the 40-day freshen, and I like it off the freshen rather than a horse like Boom Chicka Boom coming back from sort of 1,200 metres. I don't think that's the right sort of profile. Obviously, as you say, we're going blind without the market, and I'm always wary about a new horse to the Edmonds yard, which is Royal Witness, but there's no rider there, and maybe it's going to be scratched and saved for something else instead.
It ran here last start in Queensland for Joe Pride. There was some talk about that maybe he was sort of half missed it and then drove it to get a position. Look, I thought the horse got run down fair and square by one strike, and one strike's not a horse I'm backing.
Not good enough here.
No, and Usmanov, they've got the key to this horse. I know that the stable had a big rap. If you go back to its first up run, this preparation, when it ran down Devil's Temptation, it went like a Learjet, and you're thinking to yourself, I know it's only a Class 2, but, this thing's going all the way through its grades. Really savaged the line late. I know it was only 900, but it was very savage the way it hit the line. And then it ran again, I think it was 2 weeks later, and just didn't have the same zip. And I think that, pretty much the decision was made there from the stable that this is a fresh horse, and that's how they've sort of helped him a bit. And, I'm more than happy to back. Normally I wouldn't be backing horses. Well, it's not a dead set rule, but more than 30 days without a jump out or a little trial or something like that, it's a little bit of a query for me normally. But, it's horses with different setups, and this is one that's, does scream that I'm a fresh horse. So,
yeah.
And you've got...
Yeah, that's another little curly pearl. You've given away a couple there. So, yeah, guys, if you want to tune into Curly's set at the moment, he's been doing bonus sets. So I think it's, $24.99 a week to get the great man's thoughts, and you get bonus music content on if you follow him on Twitter. So it's wall-to-wall entertainment, especially if you stay up late at nights and want to tune into the Toowoomba. But I think you got Gold Coast and Ipswich this weekend, and let's have a look at Sunshine Coast as the main meeting. And boy, oh boy, there's big fields here. They're very, very deep races. The Sunshine Coast, and probably the most interesting runner, or probably the hype galloper, is in race 3, Isotope. He beat nothing at all, but he's careered away and sort of won by 10 lengths, and I think he's gone 3.5 lengths faster than the benchmark there at last start. What do you make? What did you make of the win?
Yeah, look, super, obviously, to the eye, and then, certainly backed it up, I think, on the clock. And, there was some comparisons made to another horse that debuted up here a few years ago. Hootson was her name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So similar. Hootson, I think it was, anyway, there's been comparisons of debut performances in Queensland, and it was, it was just shy of what she produced. Dead set, Hootson gives me shivers. Trent Edmonds messaged me about 3 months before her debut or 4 months before her debut and offered me a share in that horse. Anyway, story for another day when I've had 70 beers and do a music video. But she was, this horse was obviously super on debut and it'll win again. It's just a matter of what level she gets to and whether we see, whether we see some natural improvement from first up to second up. The wraps on her were big going into it. She never let anyone down, but it's not a betting proposition for me. It's more so of just to see how far she does improve. And one little thing that I'll probably make note of moving into this meeting from Toowoomba is this is a totally different proposition on the big spacious surrounds of the Sunshine Coast than a little get on the fence, scoot around and a million miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of horses. And the form sort of, it doesn't really transfer both ways, does it?
No. It's different, particularly on speed horses.
Yeah.
And you get horses back in the field that have this can't take apart in Doomben at times.
So if Gotta Kiss has got sort of similar figures at its top. But yeah, it'll be very hard to think that the market won't sort of gravitate heavily towards Isotope. It's got a great draw and it's only got 56 kilos. So I think that will be very hard to beat. What we're going to talk about next, race 7. Well, yeah, race 7's an interesting one. I thought Baccarat Baby, I thought she was really good first up, only really beaten by the weight, sort of laboured. Was it Nishani Hustler? Went to the fence and just sort of kept kicking.
Yeah.
I didn't, it was a knock or a negative. She's got a lot of class. I think the step up to 1,400 metre suits. I think she's proven on bigger tracks. And then you've got next in the market's McEwen at $6. The market might take on Baccarat Baby. So I don't think there's a rush to backer at 240, but depending on how much the market drifts and how the market moves late, will be decided on how I play this race. But yeah, it's an interesting one with McEwen. He's got 4.5 kilos off her, around the $6 quote.
Yeah, I suppose we just like on face value. You look at the races that she contested last preparation, and how well she could run against some top quality animals. Horses like Melody Bell. She performed well. I suppose, if you look back through her prep, so she was building to do something. She was still up and about and winning early in her prep, which I think is a good thing. Sometimes you get these horses that are looking to go to a carnival race and maybe just 1 or 2 runs to sort of, get them wound up as they step up in trip. But D. Van Dyke trains plenty of winners, and he seems to have the ability to have his horses winning from the beginning of their preps all the way through to their grand final. Obviously, Alligator Blood's an example, but there's plenty of others in Queensland that have won, their way through their preparation. So he's got a knack of doing that. And this horse, when you look through this field, she does look like the one that has all the upside in the world, and all the others are very well exposed. But like you say, the 230 is very, very, very well short enough at this point in time.
Yeah, Silvera's been interesting. It's been scratched a couple of times.
Yeah, look, I've noticed that it's accepted. Has accepted with top weight in a few races, and then scratched. The stablemates taken advantage of it on a couple of occasions there. So it's unsure. So obviously what I'm leaning towards here is, like we say, it's been a little bit of time between runs. Why was it scratched? Did it have an issue? And then obviously you're going to go back and have a look at its trial and see that it trialled okay behind another horse that's in
Just Storm
later on in the day. So, obviously, the listed level sort of win that it had last start, this horse was, around all those old sort of, I shouldn't say old whackers, but, the same horses that go around week in, week out in Queensland. So I don't know whether new versus magnified sort of thing is good enough or as good a form as what Baccarat Baby has competed well against at this trip.
And Order again's a class animal when he's right, but I guess that sort of camp, and if the money's hot there, he'll be he'll be ready, but not sure that he'll be ready to roll first up.
The market will let us know.
Yeah, they're very.
You're not diving in at $7 on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, anyway.
No, we're busy creating music videos, aren't we, and fixing dishwashers.
That was 24 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah, the photo gallery, when we were allowed to release it, will be very entertaining. There's stuff everywhere. It was fresh hell for poor old Curls. Speaking of Just Orm, let's kick across to race 9. I think it's not a bad each way play, Just Orm. I think it is definitely a horse that likes the Sunshine Coast. I think you're getting me at $13. Sort of maps in the first half. It can absorb a lot of pressure. This looks like it's going to be run at a pretty hot tempo. Curly, you're sort of leaning towards the favourite a little bit more so, Tambo's mate.
Yeah, look, I didn't mind it. I'm just scrolling back up to my speed map. Sorry, mate. I just thought that Mashani Hustler's a tough horse, right? So I've got no reason to think that they just don't ride it for speed again. He's tough as they come, that horse. Tambo's mate sort of sat outside it. I thought it may have been a little bit soft, coming off the spell. There was no sort of trial there. Did all the bullocking work outside the leader and probably just knocked up a little bit late. So I'm really happy to see that it sort of stays, I'm happy for it to be at 1,000. That's not a worry for me. It's got that fitness run under its belt now, and I think it can be ridden, very aggressively outside of Mashani Hustler. The question mark for me in the race is obviously, horses like, I've got a Nell, for example, drawn out wide, and how much speed did they inject, or, I've got to just sort of put some finishing touches on my speed map here to see, whether they've actually got the speed to engage in a speed duel with horses like Tambo Mate and Mashani Hustler, who are, to my eye, a clear bit better horse and faster and tougher than horses like I've got a Nell who could potentially put the speed on. I did like the suggestion of Just Orm. What did you think of its win last time here at the Sunny Coast when it sort of catapulted down the middle late and got over the top of them?
Yeah, I can sort of see a similar type setup here, and I think Steph Thornton's definitely the right rider for this horse. Just get it in its comfort zone, and especially the way this sort of race sets up from a speed perspective. I love it when there's a hot tempo on and Steph's allowed to let a horse balance up, and then she just lets rip when the horse is ready. I think that's a great setup for her, unless she's sort of bullying out front. I think that's a perfect storm. And I think just looking at the early markets, because obviously it's Wednesday and I don't know, the world could end by Saturday. I think that was the horse at odds that sort of caught my eye for sure. I'm a little bit negative about some horses going from 1,200 to 1,000. I know back up to a big track that could be slightly different. And Stewie Kendrick is just a trainer that just does odd things, and I can't really make sense of a lot of the things that he does, and I'm just perplexed. And sometimes I think he perplexes himself, but he's obviously a very deep thinker, because there's some very really interesting setups to try and get the most out of a horse. I don't know how to handle him, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I suppose you could argue the point here that this horse probably didn't have to run first up 1,200 and probably could have had a jump out or another trial and then come to the 1,000 first up. I don't know. I'm talking about Tambo's mate, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
There's an advantage. The Sunshine Coast locally trained horses do have somewhat of an advantage. The statistics will tell you that. But also with this zone, obviously things are a little bit different with stats. You've got to be mindful there. It wasn't long ago where you just couldn't back a Golan horse or a Heathcote horse at the Sunny Coast. And then when you go back through the stats, dig a bit deeper, you find out that they're sending their C graders up there on a Sunday arvo and sending the stable hands while they're home having a beer, watching them on telly. So you've got to be mindful now with these zones that obviously, these Saturday races now aren't just all Metro prize money races. There's some wild maidens in there as well and some wild jockeys. And you've got your Metro class races like these ones that are a bit serious. And your horses like Vega 1 kicking off on its way to a Winter Carnival as well. It's a pretty, like you say, it's a pretty deep race, and I think the map's going to play a big part here to see who's going to be the strongest late.
Yeah, with no claim, 62 kilos. I think he's going to roar home Vega 1. I've got a lot of time for the horse, but yeah, it'll be a quiet run for mine. Just trying to look at the puzzle and think I don't think it'll be there.
Exactly. And there's another good example of, Golan's got Bailey's on Vega 1. Steph's on Just Dawn. Does that mean anything? Does Bailey want to be on Vega 1 through the carnival and just get a nice ride in transit here and hit the line and, looking to something bigger down the track? So plenty to weigh up here.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a great weekend of racing. Yeah, they've done a great job with the zones, and the Friday at the Gold Coast nearly is eclipsing the Brisbane meetings. But it's staggering to see so many horses around. I guess carnival time there'll be more horses in work. But to sum up, I'd probably say my best each way is Just Storm, and there's another horse I've got a black booker early in the card that I'm really keen on an each way price, but I'll save that one for the subscribers, as they say. And what about you, Curls? Yeah, I think you're about 4 from 4 off your best bets from these videos in the last weeks. What are you going to throw out there? Some free meat on the bone.
I do like the way the race shapes up for Usmanov. Obviously, that's meetings on Friday, and I can't see a market. But any way I look at it, I just like how I just like the way the horse is going. I like the way it's set up here off that freshen up as well. And look, there's plenty there. There's 9 races there on Friday. I'd sort of try and go through the races that I think are really even to try and, pen them if you like, or try and find a way that I can not get involved as a place to start. But it's really good racing, and I think we'll be involved in a fair few races there. Only the one dirty sort of stay-in race where they take it in turns of winning. But the card seems really strong. But at this stage, Usmanov looks my best, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in Friday for sure.
Yeah, the Mars stable must be big viewers of the show Quality Seeker. You told him to scratch that.
Yeah, but
how do you what's his name?
Syrian Maher.
Yeah, that's it.
Syrian Maher and David Eustace. Training combination there. Jeez, they're like, I was certainly no knock. I just couldn't imagine how that horse could possibly compete at $2.10 or $2.15, or it was $21.50. But obviously Syrian has chimed in there and said, the boys are right here. I'm scratching that horse.
Okay, so we all know there's a Winx photo in the back. A little bit of trumpet work with the Mercedes little picture up on the shelf as well. But what's on your hat? The viewers at home will be going absolutely mad. It says Milton Mango.
This is my son's hat. Yeah.
Milton Mango, Sink and Tinnies, Punch and Winnie. So
what a bogan. Well, I have my hair. I had to wear a hat. It's the only one I could find. I look like a type of space.
You look like Mark Ruffalo. You've probably got as much money as him. Anyway, enough of the dribble. Get involved, guys. The Mailbag. We've got the Warrnambool Punters Club coming up in a couple of weeks' time. 10 days or so. That's going to be a beauty. Back down to a 2-day carnival. We started off with 2,500 in the kick, and now it's past 35,000, which is just madness. For we've only been up for 2 days. So head to Little Birdie Pod on Twitter, or head to the Mailbag in the shop there and jump on board. It's a tragedy that we're not down at the Bull this year. Curly made a debut at the Bull. How was it last year for you?
Looked. I think I describe it as something that you have to do, and it's brilliant, and you'll never do it again, because it's one of the hardest 4 days I've ever put in my life. 5 days we were there for. So it's tough mentally, particularly when you're with a group of blokes and you sort of, you're drinking and living with them for 5 days and there's no respite. It can get a bit touchy at times. It's pretty tough, mentally challenging, but it makes you certainly makes you more appreciative to what you got at home, I can tell you, because it's tough going. But the
horses do a grand annual, and you do a grand annual yourself, just trying to get back up. It's the fact that they've got those 11 a.m. starts the next day, and you're shivering, and you've got the tinny in your hand. It was hot last year. That was the hottest it's ever been. So can you imagine, drop 10 degrees and rain coming in sideways, and then staring down the barrel of that first beer after either winning or losing day one? It's no place for the faint-hearted.
Well, we can't be there, but we can certainly enjoy enjoy it. I was pretty excited to be involved, and then I spied the calendar. Thought I could shop a couple out wide for the boys, and we've got Bundaberg and Rockhampton TAB meeting on the Tuesday. So I've been looking at a few Bundaberg tapes. I did some replays on Sunday. I had a look at some Bundaberg tapes. I thinking, how good's this? We're going to be shopping out wide here during the carnival. So looking forward to it.
Mm. Yeah, thoughts and prayers for the betting community. If we've got 100,000 in the kick and then something comes in at Bundaberg. Yeah, stay tuned, punters. Have a great week. Thanks, Curls. And we'll see you on the Twitter sphere.
Talk again soon, no doubt.
See you, bud.